Today, we got another great meeting of the minds with a guy that's been around wrestling. We've been chatting for a little bit here, Mr. Ed Duncan. He's been around. What'd you say? 27 years, coach? Did I catch that right? Did I miss that?
Don't tell people that. They think I'm young. I'm younger than that on the internet, man. 27 years is a long time. So
How long you
yeah,
been
I've been
around?
at it. Well, I started in the ninth grade, so you got to add a few years to that 27.
Okay,
Add
so you've
another.
been
Yeah,
longer.
my whole life really.
That's good, and we're gonna get into it more. Tell us a little bit, Ed, about what you do. I know you're a high school coach, but you got a pretty important role with the North Carolina chapter of USA Wrestling. Tell us about what you do.
I do whatever has to be done.
Love it.
Chase, that's what I do. I'm the state chairman right now. This is my second term as state chairman. I spent the previous 10 years as the administrative director working for the board and the state chairman at that time. Coach Wentz, of course, served for about 6 years, and several other guys, PJ and Phil. Some people remember Phil Sherrill and a couple others uh, along the way. And that my job in that role was just to do the paperwork and the website and to help manage the events. That's really the big thing I spent a lot of time doing was event management and setting up state events and traveling around the state trying to get the local events going, and been busy, been active with that. This has been an odd spring. We talk about the COVID deal. This is the first time I've not had a spring of wrestling. Every Saturday's in a gym somewhere, and some Sundays. And in June's on the road to Oklahoma or Seattle or Fargo in July. So the plus side of that is my yard looks amazing. So,
And the honey-do list is never
I didn't know
end.
I had a yard, Chase. Honestly, I didn't know I had this much yard till I had never worked in it in the last 10 years since I moved into this property. And I was like, I guess I'll work in the yard a little bit this year. So,
The wife probably thinks she's got a new husband too, right?
oh, yeah, exactly.
That's funny. So basically, it's what I'm hearing is you do whatever needs to be done to get USA or North Carolina USA wrestling going. I remember not too long ago you had an event. It was like a what I want to say. Mindset actually was a sponsor, and you were giving out if they signed up with Team NC, they get free sessions. Is that right?
Yep. Yep. We did that a couple of years for our national team kids, actually, as
Right.
part of our uh, team. Well, I guess we call it like the Team and Seed sort of developmental program. Um, the game plan was trying not just during the spring to give them access to physical training, but also the mindset training. And so Jeff and those guys have been fantastic. Worked with us on that. I actually did our high school team a couple times, uh, and it was very beneficial. I know we went through it up at ASU's camp. ASU brought the mindset training in for camp a couple
Heck
times.
yeah.
So I've had several good experiences. We've got the four principles tacked up there on the wall in the wrestling room, and everybody knows what they are. So
You
we
got you
love.
guys come every day.
Yeah, we do. We
Even
not every day. We don't say them out loud every day, like in unison, but we do every now and then remind ourselves. And it's right under the television, so if we have to stop and watch a video, right, they're seeing that right there as well. So thankful
that's
for the
awesome.
opportunity. Thankful for the opportunity to wrestle, man. And right now, boy, that's a huge one, ain't it? If
People
you've got
take it
an
for granted
opportunity,
all the time, and
oh,
now it's been taken. Like, I know we didn't talk about this when we were off air, but we were fortunate. We were, to get our state championships in. Those basketball boys in North Carolina didn't get that opportunity, did
oh,
they?
we don't even that's yeah, we're just lucky really on that. We got our folk style championships in for high school and our youth level ones, and then of course we didn't get our freestyle and Greco championships in this year. We've been trying to work that out with the Powerade State. We were going to do our state game, the Powerade State Games tournament, as the state championships, and I don't know if that could still happen in August. I think once we get to the new membership year in September, we're probably going to think about what fall and starting to hit the reset button for the coming year. But yeah, I mean, you just take for granted that things are going to happen, and as they always have, and of course everybody's having to deal with their own challenges, and we've wrestling's certainly had ours, and are going to continue to have some moving forward. So we got to find other avenues and find other ways. We got to be creative, and
Right.
I've been doing high school workouts for the last 2 weeks, and nobody's touched anybody. So, but we're still learning how to wrestle.
So you've had your guys out there, just physical training, and are you doing some mindset stuff with them?
As soon as as soon as the High School Athletic Association allowed activities to resume, our school system said go for it and do what you can do within the guidelines. And so we've had basically sessions, and we've been really working hard on some real fundamental stuff that you know just
You can take your time.
taking our time, stance, and motion, and just basic skills that you can drill a lot of stuff on air. Obviously, I can fill up an hour of drilling on air without thinking too hard. There's plenty of things that we're not good at that we need to get better at, and getting kids in a stance and teaching them how to do a stand up, and you can do a lot of that without a partner. Honestly, sometimes partners mess them up because
Right.
not every, one of the things you find out about most champions is that they had a great partner.
No doubt.
Somebody was a good drill partner for them along the way. I was just telling you a while ago about our 4 state champs from high school getting together yesterday, and you might think, oh well, y'all probably all drilled with each other. Nope. 2 of them drilled with each other, but then me and the other big guy, we both had different drill partners that were very successful in their own right. They didn't win the state title individually, but I wouldn't have won mine without my drill partner, so it was as much his as mine, but I was fortunate. So I know a lot of times you put 2 new wrestlers together and say, go learn how to do a move, and the top guy don't even know how to get in the right position. So how can the bottom guy learn to score? You know what I'm saying? It's amazing when some state champ grabs a hold of you on top, and you're trying to do a stand-up that you learned against the guy that don't even know how to get in the starting position. You'll find out it don't work as easy as you thought it did. So
real quick.
So we're just doing on air. And you asked me if we've done any mindset stuff yet. No, we've not really done a lot of mental stuff right now this time of year. So I think we'll probably do more of that as we get closer to the season. And we're just kind of focusing on fundamental basic skill stuff and some physical development. We're doing some push-ups and a little bit of jogging around, stuff we can do without touching each other and staying apart from each other and all that stuff. So.
Have you got the game plan, or are you scanning their heads and asking questions every time they're coming in?
We're having to do that and looking at what technology we need to invest in for the school year coming up, and obviously optimistic like everybody else that we're going to get to have a season, and whatever protocols we've got to deal with, we'll deal with it.
I'm hoping. Been at News Charter for 7 years as a coach, and I've got 2 kids. Actually 3 kids is graduating coming up 2021. And I've been with them since they were in the 7th grade. So those kids are special when you have that long bond and time with them, and it's going to be detrimental to me if they can't get that last year in. It's going to tear me up. I know it's going to tear them up.
Well, you think about somebody not winning a state championship this year. There's some team out there that has prepared their whole, they've been spending the last not 3 years getting ready to win a state championship, but probably 8 or 10 years building a youth program, bringing kids up through that youth program, taking them to camps and tournaments and getting kids to buy into all that. And then, of course, getting them into the high school room together and putting together a successful team there that's got some cohesiveness and people knows what weight classes are going to be in. And then to have that opportunity not there. I mean, you don't get that. I'm fortunate to have won a couple of state championships, but like I said, I'm only 2 out of 27. So I'm a big failure, man.
Right.
I got 25 years that I didn't win the state championship. So I also happen to know that's not as, it's harder than it looks. And if you don't have that opportunity when it comes along, it would just be devastating. So, but, we, at the same time, wrestling's wrestling. You got to look at whatever you can do, I can still coach kids. I can still coach kids and make an impact positively in their life, even if we're not on the mat competing physically. There's other ways we can compete mentally against, time and against skill. Are you doing that stand up properly? Right. Just trying to get them to focus on those barriers and those goals. Maybe right now the opponent is not a physical opponent, but there's other opponents out there. There's other challenges that we can put in front of them that kids look for. They like a challenge. And, we've done some physical fitness challenges with our kids. We've done some with North Carolina USA Wrestling. Personally, I actually, Team Nebraska just finished a 45-day fitness challenge that they put out for their state association, and it was like push-ups and pull-ups and something else, 2 or 3 things. Running was one of them, and you just
Yeah,
log.
stuff that's super hard to do. It's just actually doing it.
Hey, if you do it for 45 days in a row, you'd be amazed at how much better shape you're in. So,
yeah, pennies in a bucket, right?
Yeah, I took advantage of that even personally myself, and we had some North Carolina kids that did it, and there's a lot of opportunities like that out there that kids can challenge themselves and get better. It ain't gonna hurt you to get stronger right now.
Never, never.
It's gonna hurt you to get better cardio and the things that you're gonna need when you get back on a wrestling mat, whenever that time may come. You got to be training it. So, champions train. They don't rain, coronavirus. It don't matter. They're gonna find a way to get it done. So, I promise you, the Decatur boys ain't sat at home.
Yeah, the Decatur boys.
Yeah, exactly.
Oh no, they're throwing out YouTube clips trying to get some business going. They're going to make something happen out of it. This is an opportunity, not an obstacle.
Well, we put out a little challenge to our state. We put out a little challenge on. We set up a YouTube channel, and asked for any of our top level national team guys if they would put together a little workout video, and we've got probably 8 or 10 videos that were submitted by Alec Baynard. Put several of them together. The Decatur boys put a few of them together, and we put them on that YouTube channel, and they've got great little 10, 15-minute segments. And I've got youth kids in my program that have used them, at their house. They get they either go out and on their mat or on their carpet or whatever, and do what they see those guys doing on screen. So it's a great way to make that connect. And I know a lot of our, Carolina's guys have done it. NC State's guys have done it. I know Machiavelli's been doing some stuff with a couple of local clubs here in North Carolina, running workouts for them. So, learning to get creative and use this technology as much as we can to make it happen. So
let me take you back to when it all hit. And now, I guess I don't know how long you guys have been out of school. I've probably been out a little bit longer. How were you communicating? How often were you communicating with you guys? I know with so much uncertainty, it was hard to put out a constant message because it's always going to get pulled back. What did you do during that time with your guys?
Well, we had this, you say my guys, I think about my high school team and my club kids. And then I talk about North Carolina USA Wrestling and kids interested in going on the national team trips. That's kind of two different avenues. For my local kids, we've got I got a Facebook page for Mitchell Wrestling. I got a group chat with the parent. We've got the final forms where everybody's emails in the system. We can send emails out to the kids. The all call stuff, we've got some of that technology. So we've used those social media platforms and the technology to communicate with them. And then a good old fashioned phone call every now and then.
Right.
Let them know. There wasn't much to let them know about in March and April and May. Now that we've finally gotten around to reopening, we've reached out to them, let them know, made sure we got in touch with everybody. And we've had pretty good attendance for the first couple of weeks. This week we're off, obviously, because of the dead week, but we'll be back at it after the 4th of July. And I know I saw ASU's offering a virtual camp coming up in July, so we typically go to ASU's team camp. We'll probably figure out a way to do that virtual camp here. I know several clubs in Charlotte. I know Charlotte School of Wrestling is offering online instruction, and I've seen several other clubs, both nationally and in the state, that have got online options for kids to train. So I've been trying to get my kids to dial in on some of those opportunities, and we'll probably dial in a little more on some of those too as July rolls around. As far as USA goes, we kind of were in a wait and see pattern with them. It took them all the way up till I think the end of May to finally decide if they were going to have Fargo or not. And of course, we were all holding out hope that there would be a Fargo, and so now there's not, and we're kind of looking around. I'm been in conversations the last couple of weeks about what's the possibilities of events coming back in August, and there's a few states where some things are happening, but it's just really, I told you before, I just made a trip to Montana and back, so and I was on the ground I was driving, so I saw what it looked like a little bit in 11 states on the way up there and back, and it's just a hard environment right now to, we can't get together right now and put people at risk, so it's challenging. I'm glad to see things like the Fight TV event that's coming on tonight with Jo and Knopf and those guys getting at it. That'll be fun to watch. At least we get to
Okay.
watch a little good of wrestling, right? I'll take
Right.
it 10 matches at a time. If that's hey, a dual meet looks pretty enticing right now, don't it?
It would.
So 14 guys going head to head, and make sure everybody's not got the COVID before you get out there. That sounds okay with me. So if I
Hey,
have to watch it on a video chat, I'll watch it on a video chat.
and what's exciting to me about that is just these guys that are competing. You know, they're at a level that they're really hungry to compete. Like it's one of those things they're missing. That's a competitor spirit, wouldn't you say? I mean, is that something that can be trained? Do you think?
Yeah, I think once you get kids, it's kind of like a lot of kids maybe haven't tasted that. Getting your hand raised on a wrestling mat, there's nothing like it. It's its own drug.
Right.
And if you get kids to that, you got to get them to it somehow. You might need to wrestle them in the JV tournament before you put them in the varsity tournament to get their hand raised. But once a kid gets, once a kid gets their hand raised, they'll do a lot,
Right.
in between those hand raisings to keep that feeling coming. So there's nothing like it. And I think eventually, kids, if they have that competitive spirit, if they have a kind of a competitive nature naturally, then that's gonna, they're gonna gravitate to a wrestling mat. So that's why I like having,
you've been
being
around.
around.
Sorry, Coach. You've been around longer than I have. I've seen some kids that I never thought would win a match, and I'm sure you've been there too, right?
Oh yeah. I had a kid this year. He finished third in the conference as a senior. He's been on my team the whole time he's been in high school. He's been to camp a couple of times. And in the grand scheme of the wrestling world, third place in our conference is not exactly a world championship, right?
Right.
But they put out a senior newspaper at the end of the year, right? And the question was, what was your most best memory from high school? You know what he said his best memory from high school was? Finishing third in the conference tournament. That was a huge accomplishment for him. And to know where he came from, where he started with the sport, and where he ended up, it was a good accomplishment for him. I can pat him on the back for that. And I'm not mad at him. Would I have liked for him to have been a conference champ or a state champ? Sure, I would have. But I'm thrilled that he got to the level he did,
Right.
and he learned it. He learned, and he learned about himself. He learned, what his strengths and weaknesses were, and how mentally tough he was, and where he needed to probably improve himself some. So,
Right.
That journey, watching kids go through that journey is part of the joy of coaching the sport. So,
okay, and being a young wrestling coach, looking at the grand scheme of things, my nerves get so unsettled, and I have to use these principles that we use at Mindset. Deep breathing, kind of just focus, get my mind off of this could be my kid's last match ever. This blood round or this regional tournament. How do you handle that with a bunch of seniors?
Wow. How do you well, you better have you kind of know, honestly, by the time you get to that point, the haze in the barn when you're at the regional when you're in the blood round at the regional, it's going to happen or it's not. And of course, one thing I want to make sure is that I coach my best. I'm going to give them everything. I lost a team point at the regionals this year, which I almost got thrown out. And the kid it was a kid that hadn't even won he like 2 or 3 matches this year. He's like a freshman, but he got a kid that he could beat, and they were rolling around the scores like 25-24. It's one of those 2 cats rolling across the wrestling mat. It wasn't really a wrestling match, but my kid was first time he'd scored points all year, first time he'd been in a match all year, first time he had an opportunity to win all year, and the referee's making a couple calls that were hurting us, and I was chewing that referee out, and he got me. He got me. I deserved it. But, in the grand scheme, I didn't need to fight for that kid, right? I could have just sat there and watched the match, and whether he won or lost wasn't a bit. But, it was that kid's last match of the year. So, I wanted to put my heart and soul. I'm out there to advocate for my kid. I'm going to put my passion out there and try to give them everything I can, especially that, like when you said, when you get to that blood round match, when you get to that point, you've got to, and then whatever happens. You got to live with the results. Either way, I've seen some wins and I've seen some heartbreaks at that point. Either way, you got to pat them on the back and congratulate them on going to the state tournament or hug them neck and tell them great career. So
thank you for all your time.
thank you for everything you've done for our program. Is exactly right. So
That's right. Let me ask you this: how did the kid respond? Did he end up winning that match, or
no, we lost, but we lost because of the referee. So hope the referee sees this. I could help the referee out with some technique stuff later, but no, it was we lost the match, but we were in it. We were in it, and it was a good experience, for the kid to be that close, to see that he'll be back next year, and he'll be expecting to win some matches because now he knows he can.
right?
So.
Right. I'm sure the team got fired up. When coach gets one taken from the team,
yeah, I mean, and the kid knows I'm gonna fight for him. He knows I'm gonna be in his corner. So
that's right, because you're in his corner every day. That's what I love about wrestling. I've learned so much about life through it. And again, I talk about it in terms. I haven't been in the game as long as most of these guys have been in it, but I have learned so much about people and life from it in a short time. It's amazing. It's amazing.
I always say.
Sorry.
Go ahead.
I was gonna say, what's next for USA Wrestling in North Carolina? I mean, you still contingency. You're waiting. Is there a plan to get those local tournaments going?
Well, you want to hear about Plan A, B, C, D, E, F, G? Which phase 1, 2, 5? Which phase do you? So we're like everybody else, Chase. We're waiting and we're hoping and we're waiting, and I think the hardest thing right now is patience. This can't last forever. Good Lord willing, I don't think it can last forever. I think it, science says we're going to get hopefully some sort of testing, not testing, but what do we call that thing? The vaccine. We need a vaccine for this mess, right? So we can move on past it and put it in our rearview mirror and get back to our lives as normal. And, at that point, wrestling will go back to being wrestling. And in between, we've got to look at what we can do to make opportunities happen. So, we've been very busy. It's not been like, we just sitting around doing nothing. We've been on the phone. State leaders from all across the country have had weekly conference calls, and in the last couple of weeks, they've gone to every other week. But once we finally decided what we were going to do with Fargo, but we're bouncing ideas off of each other. We're exploring ways that we can try to, like one of the things that we did was we put the coaches' education opportunity materials for USA Wrestling out and made them. We said, hey, make those, let's emphasize that. Let's highlight that. Let's get coaches in North Carolina, coaches across the country to take these coaches certification courses and become better coaches, right? Access these resources on being a better coach and learning how to coach. And so the copper and the bronze courses, we've doubled the number of copper and bronze coaches in North Carolina in the last couple of months. And we're not even the top state. There's thousands of coaches across the country that have taken those courses, and I like to think they're a better coach because they've done that professional development. NWCA has had some great opportunities. Of course, they've got their convention coming up here in a few weeks that they're making online virtual opportunities available. That's going to be great. I think the High School Coaches Association is going to, I don't know what they're going to do yet exactly with their clinic. Maybe it's going to be a virtual clinic for us as well. So, we're trying to get folks to do those things. We're trying to get the kids to stay active, training, looking at what we need to do as association to, figure out ways to, if we can have tournaments, when we can have tournaments as soon as possible within the boundaries of safety. And maybe it's maybe there's other competitions. I'm getting ready to hopefully talk about some other ways that we can compete, like this Fight TV tonight, where we're going to have 9 matches on a pay-per-view. Maybe that's the kind of format we're going to be looking at for a while. Maybe we're going to all tune in to Friday night fights and watch, 8 or 10 matches of some high-level kids or high-level collegiate athletes getting together somewhere in North Carolina, and everybody, not many spectators there on site. Maybe we got a couple cameras, but the rest of us can sit at home and still watch great wrestling,
No doubt.
And
if you were to say, for you personally, so far, what's been the best part about our pandemic? Because we like to look at things, in different perspectives. Everybody's talking about the worst thing. What about the best thing? What's the best thing about it for you?
Well, I told you my yard looks amazing. And
That's right.
I found out I have a yard, right?
Hey,
so
that's better watch out. The baseball coach is going to want you to cut his grass.
That's not the best thing about it, though. I've had the time to I've been able to get in the gym myself. I needed to get in shape. I know a lot of coaches have lost 15 pounds and put themselves in better shape, so they're going to be better physically equipped to get back on the mat with kids next year. And trust me, when you get older, that gets harder. It gets harder and harder to stay physically able to romp around or teach technique the way it needs to be shown. You get to where you're pointing across your belly a lot as you get older. I feel like it's been good for me to focus on my health. Also learning and getting new ideas, having some time to develop some curriculum things. Personally, I've been working on my silver certification for USA Wrestling. I told you about the bronze and the copper just a minute ago.
Right.
I already had those courses completed, but I'm working on my silver college stuff, and have even started working a little bit on my gold certification. So that's an opportunity that if I was busy with everything else going on, I wouldn't have time to do that, So I'm taking the time, I think, trying to do some things, investing in my learning. You talk about mindset training. I have been at this a while, but I still need to learn. I still need to become a better coach. And I look for opportunities to learn from great, like you said earlier, find those mentors, find the Bobby Shriners and the Mark Harrises and the Billy Bakers and the Bill Edmonstons and these guys all across, so many great coaches in North Carolina that have information and knowledge that they'll share with you if you sit down and talk to them and look at the resources that they've used in their programs to make themselves better coaches. Mindset training is a resource. A lot of kids can tap into that, but I've learned a lot as a coach from it as well.
Right.
So, got to focus and having the time to focus on those type of things has been a blessing.
Yep.
And not that I wouldn't rather be in a gym competing, but at the same time, I'm pretty proud of the fact that we've doubled our number of certified coaches in North Carolina with bronze and copper certification, and the fact that we've been able to sort of get that program going nationwide. Some kids somewhere are going to benefit from that because their coach is a better coach next year. So,
no doubt, that's great.
And,
now, is that closed? I mean, are
no,
you still doing this?
It's still open. It's going to stay open. And I think they haven't said anything about an end on it yet. So if there's coaches looking at this or kids, you want to punch your dad and say, "Hey, Dad, you need to take a cop." Hey, kids, it's a great chance to get your dad to be a better coach, right? So if your dad's annoying in the corner, make him take the copper course, and he'll be better next year, maybe. But it is great. You know what? As a coach, it's a good thing to have. If I'm going to try to tell parents they ought to put their kid under my care, under my tutelage, to have that extra certification hanging on the wall in the gym, doesn't hurt anybody. And it's free, and it takes 6 hours of your time. We've all got 6 hours right now.
No doubt.
You turn your Netflix off for 6 hours. So
you got to get up, man. There's a lot of people that are setting themselves up for some hardships when we do get back to whatever normal we're going to have. But there are some people, like you said, coaches that are older guys that are getting in shape. There's people that are working like madmen. They're seeing, like we talked about Timothy and Christian earlier, opportunity instead of obstacles, and I think that is a mindset. Would you agree with that?
Oh, absolutely. The people who look for opportunities see this as they know this is an opportunity, right?
Right.
And when I use that hashtag champs train all the time. Champs train. Champs, and whether they're champion coaches or whether they're champion wrestlers, they're training, right? They're training their mind, they're training their bodies, they're getting around other champions, they're improving. They're constantly focused on improving themselves and other people around them and making themselves better. And that lifts their program that they're part of. You can guarantee that the guys that hang around those other kids that are training hard, they're getting better. They're seeing that, they're learning from it, and it's making them better. So it's a great way to look at it. And not everybody's going to do that. Some kids are going to get distracted and do other things with their time. But the ones that are, I bet the ones that are watching this video are probably interested in getting better. So just know it's an opportunity, and you can distance you talk about social distancing. This is a great time to distance yourself from the competition you're going to face next year. So you know what? I'm going to social distance you all day long for 6 minutes next year. So
I've written it. Excuse me. That's my country accent coming out. I've written a little I would say what you just talked about. Let's do social distancing this way instead of the way we're doing it.
Yeah.
But it's about getting ahead of the pack, and I love what you said right there. That's awesome. Um, Man, you said Bobby Schreiner too. I wrote down iron sharpens iron and Bobby Schreiner earlier. You mentioned how being around someone makes you better, and that's the first thing that popped in my mind. He is a great mentor. Um, Good guy, Bobby Schreiner. You know him really well, right?
I know Bobby real well. Jerry Winterton, Jerry's another guy that I look back on my coaching career when I was a young pup in the game, and I heard Bobby say a few words here and there, and I took that stuff to heart and put it in my program, and it made a world difference. So,
What was it? I bet I already know, but what was it?
in Jerry's case, Jerry just talked about how he managed to get kids to stay in his program. Right? Everybody knows Kerry had a great program with all these high level kids and great intensity, and Jerry just talked about how you started that, right? It wasn't always like that at Kerry, and he had to build that program and that culture, and just talking about how he went through the process of turning up the heat as time went by to where they finally were at that level, right? And when kids came in, they knew that's what they had to expect. And it's a really interesting process. I've been through it. Other coaches that have tried to build successful championship programs have had to do the same thing, where you got to go find the tough competition. You've got to train your kids properly. You've got to get them to the camps. You got to do all the things that it takes to be successful. But you're raising that bar. We had a slogan a few years ago on one of the state championship teams that we had, that our slogan was "Raise the bar." Right? We wanted to move for the next group, the standard will be higher.
Right.
And then the amazing thing about guys like Jerry is once they got it to that high level, they kept it there for so many years. And they've maintained those high standards. Mark Harris at Inca does the same thing year in and year out. He's going to have a high level product on the wrestling mat because they do things right.
Do it the right way, and it's all the time. There's no off time, right? You've mentioned
That's
that
right.
a lot.
That's exactly right. So.
And Bobby, from what I take from Bobby is something that I believe is important. Would be the just a family thing. Make it about a family, and I think
Yeah.
that's huge. I think that's huge.
Butch Ross says God, family, and wrestling.
That's right.
You're old.
He's a trip. Well, look, Coach, I know we spent more time than I thought we would. I appreciate the conversation. Maybe we can hook up again. Is there anything you'd like to leave us with? Just USA Wrestling or anything in life that you want to kind of final comment?
A while ago we were talking about wrestling, learning life lessons. So two things I would say. One hashtag I've used a lot during this whole time is stay positive, right?
Yeah.
Stay positive. There's a lot of negativity in the world right now, and it's easy to get sidetracked with that stuff, but you got to stay focused on the things that you can control. There's a lot of things that are outside of our control. We can't fix, we can't change overnight. We need to make sure we're doing what we can do to do things. My dad always says, do the next thing right. So I'm trying to focus on taking care of my business, doing it right, doing the things that I need to do, staying positive. And then the other thing is you say wrestling. I tell my guys this: wrestling is life, is wrestling, right? Like it's so much the same. Like
Yep.
You're going to win some, you're going to lose some. You're going to you're going to go up against some battles in life that you're going to get your butt kicked. And what you got to learn to do is get up. When you win a match, what do? You get up, you shake the guy's hand, and you come off the wrestling mat. When you lose, what do? You get up, you shake their hand, and you come off the wrestling mat. Either way, you got to get up and shake the opponent's hand as a winner or a loser, and then leave. And if you win, you can feel good about the fact that you were prepared. And if you lose, you better learn from that experience, and maybe you can win the next time around in that scenario. So that's life. We're going to win some, we're going to lose some, we're going to have some battles that we weren't prepared for. You hit that one opponent that's got that move that you didn't know how to stop, and he hits you with it 10 times in the match and makes you look like an idiot. And then you might go home and learn how to defend that, right? So that happens in life sometimes. You get hit with something in life sometimes that wasn't expected, and you got to learn to deal with that adversity and get up and move on and dust yourself off and understand that failure is part of the process of success, So I told you I've only won twice in 27 years. I'm a big failure. But I'm going to keep failing. I'm going to keep trying.
That's right. You're gonna winners keep on going. I mean, winners. What does Rob Gilbert say? Winners lose more, losers lose.
That's exactly right. That's exactly right.
It's good stuff.
Absolutely. We could have a whole segment on how many times. Tell me about the losses in your life, right? I could spend days, kind of like Abraham Lincoln. You can list a whole lot of times he lost before he was on the winning side of things. So
most people are going to give up, but the beauty of, I guess, mindset in general is, and not just wrestling mindset, but just mindset in life is, if you learn from those things and you make improvements upon them, they probably won't happen again. And now you've got these opportunities that you've
right.
learned and you've grown. You fall forward instead of backward, which I think is
That's
huge.
right. And I'll tell you one more thing about that. As a coach, you know what we got to do? We got to make sure we give kids second chances sometimes.
Absolutely.
Give an opportunity to fail, let kids fail sometimes. And then when they do fail, we help pick them up and dust them off and carry them forward, and not make failures never final.
Right.
Kids make mistakes in life. I've seen plenty of kids mess up, do something they weren't supposed to do, whether it's on a wrestling mat or off the mat. And we can't just throw them away because they made a mistake. We got to love them and bring them back around and learn from the mistakes and carry on. So
that's right. That's beautiful, Coach. Well, look, we appreciate your time, and if there's anything we can ever do for you at Mindset, let me know, and we'd love to
awesome,
get it
Coach.
going.
I appreciate the time. Good luck. Have a great summer.
Thank you, sir. You too. I'll
All
see
right,
you soon.
sounds good. Thanks.
Take care. Bye-bye.